Good morning. Thanks for coming today. This is our third session of Restoring Lives, Transforming Generations, Empowerment for Success. And week one, we talked about restoration begins within, your identity, your healing. We did a self-discovery tree and talked about our past, not dictating our future, and how you can really develop some awareness about who you are, where you're coming from, and where you want to go. Week two, we talked about rewriting your story, kind of resilience, reflection, all the good things that happen in your life when you really start to take control of your life and, again, not let the past dictate your future, but begin to plan your own future. Reframing those stories that you're the author of your story, and with God's help, God's grace, that you can change that story and it can be magnificent. It doesn't have to look like what everybody designed it for, but how you want to design it. The plot, the drama, the trauma, all those things that can lead to tragedy. Instead, you turn them into triumph as you rewrite your story. And then today we're going to focus on emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is something that refers to the ability to perceive, understand, and manage your own emotions and relationships. You've probably heard of IQ, which is intelligence quotient, which is will get you into college. You're a genius or not. It's book smart. It's being smart and intelligent in a lot of areas, but it is not emotional intelligence or EQ, EI or EQ, emotional quotient, just like the intelligence quotient, IQ. So emotions will, in fact, put you in a better place than just intelligence alone. There's nothing wrong with being smart, intelligent. In fact, you need that. We need people that are very wise and can do a lot of things and build bridges and go to the moon and make iPhones. But you also need people that are great human beings, and that involves emotional intelligence. And I believe it's a learned trait. You can learn how to be emotionally intelligent because you will adapt over time. And you can choose to focus on the things that will make you a better, well-rounded person for relationships, the workforce, and everything. So in controlling your emotions, and emotional intelligence means so much more than just controlling emotions, but it's about an awareness that helps guide your thinking and your behavior. People that are emotionally intelligent motivate themselves. They read social cues from others in the world, in their great relationships, and they also use that to then build strong relationships. So that's what we'll end up talking about today. There's a great handout that you have there with you and some things that we're going to go through, just kind of talking about what it means. But I wanted to start out with, the faith perspective of what I believe we need to talk about when we're engaging anything about ourself and awareness is that, as you heard me say, I come from a faith perspective, so I'm going to share that. You don't have to buy into it, but I'm just sharing to you what it means to me to think through that. So in your handout, you have Restoring Lives, Transforming Generations, your participant handbook. It says 3 key scriptures, and they're Proverbs 15:1, Psalms 34:18, and Ephesians 4:26. I just used these 3 things in a marriage counseling session yesterday with a couple that's getting married, and I think that they're key to us guarding our emotions and also presenting the best thought process and action plan we can in relationships. Proverbs 15:1 states, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." So this verse really emphasizes the importance of speaking kindly to others while telling a truth, and that gentle words can, in fact, help resolve conflicts and prevent anger. You can de-escalate by a good word. So a gentle answer turns away wrath. Ephesians 4:26 gives us the advice that in your anger, do not sin. Meaning that it's okay to get angry. It's okay to be upset about something, but we need to have self-control around that. And that's one of the things that emotional, intelligent person will do. They'll have self-control. They'll avoid those actions and behaviors and words that make us angry and lead to further escalation. Psalm 34:18 reassures us. It says that the Lord is near the brokenhearted, that he saves those crushed in spirit. So this means that God is wanting to help us with our emotions and help us to navigate those and grow through them, that he's close to those that are in distress. So when we do feel down, depressed, upset, that he's there to give us comfort and support during those times. And then in turn, we're able to learn about that and comfort others, whether it's our child, a partner, or a friend. These verses all put together kind of emphasize the value of good communication, self-control, and the presence of God in times of need. So those are our key kickoff points for today for me. And in my faith reflection of that, it's just that God understands our emotions as you have in your handout. And he wants to help you handle them with grace. You know, he's here not to give you a spanking, but to help you out with those emotions you have, to feel deeply, to be a passionate person, but to turn that into compassion and use some of the tricks and tools and resources we're going to talk about today that allow your emotions to guide your life in a positive way to a positive outcome, not to pull you back into negativity and bad consequences and negative outcomes, excuse me. So this week we're going to talk about learning how to pause, how to breathe, and how to respond with love and wisdom. As an example of that, last night I shared in this counseling session, someone that, say, got off work and was very upset about something that happened in the workplace. And rather than just run into the house and take that home to your partner, your friend, your roommate, or whoever, just taking a moment in your car there just to ask for God's help. He's help in time of need when we're brokenhearted. Say a quick prayer, and then to breathe, just to calm down, maybe listen to a song that calms you, and just sit there and be. And then don't take that junk with you inside. Reframe your brain, retrain your brain to not always just throw up everything that you have, but have some self-control over that emotions. Sit down in the car and then breathe through it and then go in a different person. So you don't have to, allow every emotion to dictate your life. And I think social media, especially Facebook, is really bad about this. And it says, how are you feeling? Your feelings don't run the world, okay? So you don't always need to share your feelings with everybody. You need to allow those emotions to direct and guide your life into positive ways, not just to throw up your feelings and emotions on everybody because it's your voice. Your voice isn't always the right thing to say all the time. It is important, it is vital, and will help you guide your life, but you need to retrain your brain to use that voice in positive ways that are gonna help you build a life of success, of restoration, and of transformation for not only you, but future generations. All right, makes sense? So as we get into this thing about emotional intelligence, we need to jump back into some definitions and understand why it's critical. There's been so many studies on it that prove that your workplace can be better, your success in life can be better, and just having this ability to monitor your own and other people's emotions and to differentiate between emotions and then give them labels appropriately to know when somebody's angry or sad, to know when someone's upset or grieving or full of joy or full of sadness is really vital to being a human. Imagine not knowing those feelings and trying to interact with people. That's what emotional intelligence does for you. So it's information that helps guide your thoughts and your behavior. When we look at our life as a whole, meaning that you're just not an individual by yourself in a cave, but you interact with people, and you're going to do that more and more and more as you build your own family, as you build your own relationships, and hopefully they're positive and you get people with great emotional intelligence around you. It's going to give you a greater ability to empathize with others, means being in their shoes and understanding how they're feeling with their emotions. It's going to give you the ability to communicate better as a parent, as a friend, as a loved one, and to be socially aware of yourself and of others. So how you respond in those environments is really going to set you up. If you just blast off and blow up all the time, you're probably not going to succeed as well as you could if you had some self-control. So being emotionally intelligent is the key to how we react to what life throws at us, wins and losses. So it's a fundamental aspect of your restoration and the transformation. It's some of the deepest reasons behind people's actions and their speech and their growth. Remember we talked about a closed mindset or open mindset, a growth mindset or closed mindset, a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset thinks you know everything. A growth mindset says I can learn. Self-awareness is one of those key things we have to do with that. So your success is going to grow not just from your IQ, but I would even dare more to say it's going to grow more from your EQ, your emotional quotient, or your emotional intelligence, because it's going to help you manage things. You can be very successful, very smart, but not get along with people. It's not what you want. Life is about being with people, so you need to master your emotions to be able to do that, and that's what we're going to engage in today. So you have a handout in front of you, and there's really 5 kind of resources that are great examples of, or ways we need to look at understanding emotions, using your emotions, managing your emotions, perceiving emotions, which is the totality of emotional intelligence. So your understanding is going to really guide you in this process. So you need to think about what that looks like. In your handout, you have, let me pull mine up, a very cool little diagram that I created about emotional intelligence for life success. And this kind of gets you through today's class. By end of emotional intelligence and why it matters, you're going to identify these 5 components that are there in the color wheel on the side right there, which are self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, motivation, and self-regulation. It said it twice. You're going to be able to jump into those, right? And then you're going to be able to practice some of those strategies. And then that's it. We're just going to talk about what else you can do to help process emotions and become more intelligent about your emotions, okay? So right now, I want you to pause this, and then I want you to think for a few minutes just about emotional intelligence and your reaction to kind of, what we can do when somebody is showing an emotion towards us, say anger or happiness or joy. And so what I'd like you to do right now, as you pause this, just think about the emotion that you're experiencing at this moment. And whatever it is, just write it down. But this is one way to be self-aware. What am I feeling at this moment? And just write on your paper and pause this and then come right back. Okay? So hopefully you did that. And that's kind of a step towards a journal of feelings or emotions, which you can process daily and begin to write that down just in a notebook as you draw or do whatever that helps you out. Journaling is one thing that I recommend you do as much as possible, because it's going to really help you see where you've been, where you're going, and track your progress in certain things. All right, so as we look into these 5 components of self-awareness is really probably the biggest one, and that's what you just did now. So you were becoming self-aware and looking at your own life and saying, okay, what's happening to me right now? And this is even more important in really critical situations where we need to understand what's happening in the moment. Why am I angry? What triggered me? What caused that to happen? What do I need to do about it? And when we think about self-awareness, it's really this ability just to kind of look in the mirror as we're navigating life. And when you do that, it's going to give you an honest reflection of kind of where you're at. It's okay to say, I'm upset. So being aware of your emotions and your emotional responses to others can improve that emotional intelligence. But you can't kind of fake it. When you're angry, you need to be angry. And people will see that, but you can't bottle it up and just hold it around. Otherwise, it's going to become like a cancer in you, and it's just going to sit there and you're going to stew on it. You need to be able to release it, but in a positive way. But the first thing is to identify it. To identify that I'm upset, I'm angry, and what caused that anger. And then be able to talk to somebody about that and share your emotions in a positive way. So one way you might do that, just like I was talking about the person earlier that came home from a workplace argument. When they go back in to see their roommate or spouse, they say, hey man, can I talk to you for a minute? I was just so angry on the way home, and I just was stewing in my car, really thinking bad thoughts, and I was anxious, and I was just feeling my body tense up, and I was nervous and just mad at what this person did to me and what they said. But I did some quick breathing in the car, and I had said a quick prayer, and I just want to share it with you because I want to release this. It's in me, it's a tension. And this person, they made me feel upset because I trusted them with some words of advice and that somebody had been talking about them. And then they went and talked to that person behind my back and made this big drama thing blow up. So I just want to share that with you because I want to process my feelings and communicate them, but not in a bad way that's going to make my life worse. So you might share that in a way with that person. So the trigger was you were disrespected. The trigger was you felt not valued. The trigger was somebody broke your trust, and that made you angry. Those are all correct emotions. But how you dealt with it is one thing. You could get in a fist fight at work. You could cuss that person out. You could do a lot of things. That is later on what we're talking about. But the first thing is you need to be self-aware that that person really, really made me mad. And that's okay to have that emotion. Just like we said, in your anger, do not sin. It's okay to be angry, but you don't have to react in a negative way. You can allow that to build a positive trait in you. So what would you do then? You're going to recognize the feelings and you're going to do something about it. If you need to confront that person or talk to them, first of all, you're going to go to them and you're going to now have part of that wheel, some empathy. And you're going to say, okay, why did they feel that way? And what do I need to do about that? You just can't run around crushing everybody with your emotions and not understand they may be going through the same thing. Maybe they're someone they love died. Maybe someone and they had something bad happen to them. The saying bad people do bad things, hurt people is right. So we have to recognize where their feelings are coming from. And oftentimes that means adjusting our message on what we just received. And, then talking to them in a calm way, hey, why would you do that? When I came to you and told you something that happened, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you come back to me and say, hey, thanks for sharing that, but can we talk to that person together because I don't want to confront them on my own. Instead, you use that relationship against me. And I don't really feel that was cool. So is there something going on in your life where, that wasn't happening? Can you reflect on what you did and said so I can move on? Because I want us to have this friendship at work and not run around on pins and needles. That's how you would do that. And then as they talk back to you, you're now going to practice another great trait and use a resource in your tool bag of emotional intelligence, which is active listening. You're going to sit there and listen to them when they give you that feedback. And you've got to not be listening with that angry brain. You have to be able to sit back and say, okay, I'm going to listen to grow as a human and develop this relationship and allow that thing that made me angry, that trigger, that was a tragedy, to turn into a triumph because I'm going to invest back in this person and in myself to become more emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent. And then you're going to give them that gift too, because they're going to be like, oh, wow, you actually care. Yeah, something bad did happen to me. And maybe they're just a jerk and maybe nothing happened and that's just their personality. Well, then you can't have a trusting relationship with them. And that's okay. Because remember, you can't be friends with everybody and not everybody's going to be a good person for you. You've heard me say this 1,000 times. Show me the 5 people around you, closest to you, and I can pretty much tell you what your life's going to be like. So you need to choose those 5 people wisely. And sometimes they're not at work. Sometimes everybody that's at work or in your apartment complex or wherever you live, they aren't the people you need to be around. Okay? So just take the time to hear others. Practice that active listening. Demonstrate a level of emotional intelligence. I guarantee you it's going to move on. And as you were doing all that, you heard another step inside of being emotionally intelligent, and that's communicating clearly. So you mentioned the trigger, you mentioned what happened, you mentioned the facts of what happened that day, and you mentioned how you handled it, you mentioned how you got through it, and then maybe you say, hey, I forgive you about that. And you move forward as an emotionally intelligent and mature person. But you're doing that because you're expressing your feelings correctly. That's why journaling is also helpful. You can get all that out and you can talk to God in prayer about it. You can just throw it all up. God can handle all your junk way more than people can, okay? He's the master of your emotions. He created you. He knows what you're doing. He knows what's happened to you and he knows what shapes you. So he knows what environment you're in as well. So communicating your expectations and talking to people in a clear way is going to help everybody get on the same page. It may not work out to a perceived best outcome, but everybody will be very clear about your thoughts and feelings. And then the other thing is try to stay positive in all of it. that you want to be their friend. You want to be in relationship, at least to be decent coworkers or whatever is going on. And this is just the one example we're using. But really what you've done through all this is you've empathized, and that's being in that other person's shoes, not just knowing what they think, but empathy, not sympathy. Oh, I understand how you feel. I understand why you're going through this, but empathy. Empathy is knowing that they're feelings and feeling those feelings, okay? So you may have never lost a loved one, but you've suffered loss. So you can empathize with people that lost something, whether it's a pet, a loved one, or a friend. You've lost something. So that loss that you've had helps you empathize with others that have faced loss. Or when you've been injured or hurt or somebody wounded you or offended you, you can empathize with others that have felt that. That's what empathy is. That's another strength in that will. So emotional intelligence for life success, you've got self-awareness. Self-regulation is pulling back on your attitudes, your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors, and using that to say the right thing, do the right thing. Not to just fly off the handles, what they would say. That's not self-regulating. Self-regulating is staying calm under pressure, listening, active listening, thinking, reframing, using prayer, using breathing, using all those tools to regulate what's happening in your emotions to get a positive outcome, to restore your life, transform, right? So then you have empathy, which we just talked about, and that is just the ability to walk in that other person's shoes, to feel like that other person, to know what they're experiencing, and to, really just speak that to them. Hey, I'm concerned for you. I know you're didn't seem like you the other day, and I just want to know what's going on. And when they do share that with you, you're listening and saying, man, that's rough. I can't believe that happened to you. So I just want you to know that I kind of know how you feel. I'm being respectful and compassionate, and I really do want to empathize with you. So that's okay. Doing those things is only going to make you a winner, not a loser. People think that being empathic or showing empathy is being a floor mat, a doormat where people walk over you and scrape off the mud of the day's junk, but it's not. It's actually being one of the highest forms of emotional intelligent people, processes that you could experience. So just make sure you're doing that, using your emotions in the right way, self-regulating, which means stopping, meditating on positive things, improving your mindset around what you need to do or say, and not always saying the first thing. Self-control, self-regulation is a similar concept. So the next one is motivation. Using those emotions to motivate you for your goals in life. And what that means is just really taking the time to allow one of those emotions you feel to make you a better person and move you towards that life track. So say someone, disrespects you and says something to you about your dress, the way you look, your attire, the way you present yourself. And that really hurts your feelings. And you feel like, man, that person's so mean, nasty. Why would they say something like that? Well, as you go through this process and become self-aware, maybe look in the mirror. And maybe it's not always right to wear a robe to an interview or to wear something that has so much skin hanging out that, it's not even clothing. Or you don't even take the time to, comb your hair or do something. They said that because they're trying to be a reflection to you. You can take that as a wound and use your emotions, or you can take that and self-aware and be like, wow, you know what? That's what I do look like. I really need to now self-regulate and go, okay, stop. Okay, I see their opinion, and maybe you're strong in your style choices or whatever, but maybe you didn't get that job because of it, okay? You gotta think about these things. So your attire and how you present yourself will allow them to express something that hurts your feelings. Now you've got to see, why did that happen? Ask yourself the question, then self-regulate and go, I'm not going to get mad at them. I'm going to actually go to them and say, you know what? I never thought about that way. I never realized that the way that I walk into that meeting and what I wear to that meeting and how I act in that meeting is very important to my life goals and wanting to succeed. I can't get that job and make that money without succeeding in that interview. I cannot succeed in that interview if I go in with the worst possible appearance that I have, that somebody has to say something back to me. And rather than take it on as a wound, take it on as a lesson. I need to get better. So you take that negativity and you build it into a win. That's what we call motivation in emotional intelligence. You're motivating yourself to get better through the offense that happened. And when you can do that, man, that's how you get real joy. You've regulated your emotions. You basically, you haven't locked them away and put them in a closet that you're hiding your true feelings. You're not doing that. Instead, you're letting those feelings see how they impact you and others. And then you're not always sharing the first thing out of your brain. Don't let that come out of your mouth, right? You don't always have to share it. So as you practice these things, you will just get better and emotionally intelligent every day. So reflection on your experience, being grateful about the lessons you're learning, will help you motivate yourself to change needed for restoration and transformation. If you don't, you're gonna be on that hamster wheel and just doing the same thing everybody's done before you, and you're just gonna continue to be the person that you are that gets the results you're getting. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. If you wanna change the outcome, change the action. So allow, when somebody says something to you, rather than take it as an offense, allow yourself to go through that wheel and motivate. Use that constructive feedback. Use it that way, not as a negative feedback, but just be careful and listen to what they're saying. Listen to what's happening, what you're hearing, and then take the win. Take the win that as you're self-aware and you're monitoring those emotions, you're seeing different things happening and you're correcting things, identifying things in each one of those emotions and how they can motivate you to be a better person. And as you do that, you're gonna be better for you, for your family, for the workplace. People will see it, and man, you'll just grow as a human. Again, understanding emotions, using emotions, managing emotions, perceiving emotions. This is all emotional intelligence. So we're gonna then turn that last crank onto self-regulation again. So as you now use that motivation, you're just gonna come back to it and you're gonna take the wins and you're gonna say, you know what? I'm going to be thankful for the people around me that are helping me grow as a human. I hope you take this class. I hope you take it seriously. I hope you're just not coming just to, listen. You're not watching this online just to listen and check off a box, but that you're actually trying to better yourself. Because as we do that, we get better every day. I know I'm not where I want to be. I know the goals and the things I want to do, and it's going to take me using all these skills and resources to be that person for my wife, for my children, for my grandkids, for my extended family, for you, for the staff at Covenant, for anybody we interact with. I know that I'm going to have to use all this stuff to achieve the goals in my life, to restore my life and transform my generations, to teach others what I've learned, and then to learn and grow together. That's the beauty of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And my suggestion to you is you just really jump into this. Lean into your own wellness, your well-being, and your future by using these resources, journaling, investing in yourself, investing in your body, mind, and spirit, and reframing everything. As we said, restoration begins within. You can rewrite your story. It's not over. And you can learn emotional intelligence and use these tips and tricks and resources to manage your emotions and communicate more effectively so you can become the person you want and have these healthy relationships throughout your life. So God bless you. Thank you for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day.